Joel Klatt, Fox Sports 1, former college quarterback, and now assessing college football and the NFL draft. He joins us now. Can we grade these drafts right now, Joel?
I don't think you can. Isn't that, but that's the beauty of it, right? That you want to sit there on Monday and evaluate what your team was able to get or not get, or what they passed up, what they did in trades. I don't think that you can evaluate it, though. Even like the question with the RG3 trade and everything that St. Louis got, on the surface, you would think, boy, I'd love to get what St. Louis got, but is it going to ever pan out even to a division title? I think that's what you were trying to allude to with the strength of that division. I think it's an interesting question.
Also, with these mock drafts, what it is, it's media driven. Now, you do have some former players that give their opinions on these mock drafts, but we put it in stone, and then when the kids start to fall, we blame the kids, not the people who put the mock drafts up there. So Marquise Lee goes second round, or all these SEC quarterbacks go in the fifth round or later. So I'm trying to figure out, is it the tail wagging the dog here when it comes to these mock drafts, and what our projections are with these kids?
Obviously, the projections, are what everyone hangs their hat on. And everyone sitting at home is sitting there watching the draft, thinking to themselves, why in the world is Marquise Lee still available? Why in the world is Logan Thomas getting drafted before A.J. McCarron? Why is Aaron Murray with a torn ACL getting drafted before A.J. McCarron? He won 2 national championships and all these different things. But I think what people fail to realize is just the depth at which the analysis goes with the NFL teams and the vetting process that they go through, not just on the field, but off the field. And everything that these kids do is going to be magnified, 100 times for these NFL franchises. At least for me, when I evaluate this and when I go through everything that I go through to evaluate all the prospects, when I look at a guy like Marquise Lee, I think that the NFL tends to magnify what happened to him this last season maybe a little bit too much. All the production he had, obviously, with Matt Barkley, he won the Biletnikoff Award as a sophomore, highly productive. He's an explosive guy, right? And then he comes into this year, he's got a rotating door at quarterback. He's got a rotating door at head coach.
Yeah.
And I think that really hurt his production and ultimately led to a couple of injuries, and then the NFL knocks him down for that, and the franchises don't take him until the second round. So is it the projection that we would love to see him in the first round? No, but I think that he's still a good pick. I think he's still a good value pick. And what people fail to realize is guys that get drafted outside of the first round are still making the team, making contributions. You got to look at Seattle for that. We put so much of an emphasis on the first round, like if you're not drafted in the first round, you're not going to make it in the NFL, when really this is just the starting line for these guys, and they've got to go out and prove themselves now even further.
The biggest hurdle for Michael Sam will be what?
I think it's his versatility or lack thereof. Michael Sam in the locker room and everything that everyone's talking about from the personal side, I think it's going to be just fine. Guys in the locker room, I think it's the greatest proving ground in all of America, because you go in there and if you can play, nobody cares what you do off the field. Nobody cares what you do at home, but they just want to see if you can help them contribute to wins. And his versatility is going to be tested because right now he is a one-dimensional player. He can get after the quarterback, albeit with just one move. He likes to dip that shoulder, run the edge, run the arc, and try to get after the quarterback with a speed rush. But can he play on special teams? It's a must for a guy drafted late in the draft on defense that's a linebacker, defensive end kind of hybrid type player. Is he flexible enough? Is he fluid enough to play on special teams? Is he fluid enough to play on first and second down rather than just on third down, trying to get after the quarterback on an obvious passing situation? So I think his biggest challenge is going to be his versatility or lack thereof, looking at it from our standpoint as a seventh-round draft pick.
He's Joel Klatt, Fox Sports 1 football analyst, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I understand why Zach Mettenberger and Aaron Murray might drop. Tell me why A.J. McCarron went as late as he went.
I think people started looking at A.J. McCarron's film and started seeing a quarterback that was in a system with very high talent players around him, even on the offensive side, especially in the running game. He had great offensive linemen in front of him. He even had some quality wide receivers out there, including Kevin Norwood, who won the draft. And they started seeing a guy that benefited from a terrific defense and system and coach that won a lot of football games that maybe wasn't the catalyst to those wins. You know, a lot of people look at Aaron Murray and even Zach Mettenberger, and they say those guys were at the heart of what Georgia and LSU were doing to win football games, especially offensively. The onus was put on them to go out there and to perform and to perform at a high level in order to win, whereas A.J. McCarron was asked to go out there and he was asked to be Trent Dilfer. And there's nothing wrong with that, but being Trent Dilfer for the Baltimore Ravens is very different than being, you know, the Peyton Manning of the Denver Broncos or Tom Brady of the New England Patriots or Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. And I think that scared some people off. And then obviously he lives a high-profile life off the field. And I don't know if people really love to see their backup quarterback or third-string quarterback be more famous than their starter. You know, and I think Tim Tebow turned people off from that in the NFL circle.
Well, speaking of which, Johnny Manziel and company, or Johnny Manziel Inc., is headed to Cleveland there. I can't imagine Brian Hoyer holding on to this job. I mean, just the fan base here, that inertia that's going to happen. Is Johnny Manziel going to be the starter week 1 in Cleveland?
I think he has to be. I talked a lot about fit for Manziel. Now, it's important for every player, but I thought it was of the utmost importance for Manziel going into this draft just because of the Tebow factor. And I do want to preface this by saying I think Manziel is a much better quarterback and much more ready to play in the NFL just as a passer and as an all-around player rather than Tim Tebow when he went in the first round of Denver a few years ago. But there is the Tebow factor of fame and height and everything that's going to go on as far as the Nike campaign. I mean, it was amazing the numbers that this draft did as far as the ratings, and it was because of Johnny Manziel. It topped out when Dallas was picking because everybody thought that Dallas was going to potentially take Johnny Manziel. Manziel cannot be a backup. You can't have a backup that's more famous than your starter. It's just, at this day and age of the 24-hour news cycle on Twitter and every single fan having an opinion, it just can't happen. And so he needed to go to a place that he was going to start right away. He was going to have some weapons around him on the offensive side, and he was going to have an offensive coordinator that was going to be flexible as far as system goes. And he's got that in Kyle Shanahan, who proved that he would be flexible with RG3 in Washington. And I don't think Hoyer is going to be keeping that seat warm, so on and so forth. Manziel's going to start. That's why I thought it was strange that Cleveland didn't take Sammy Watkins when they had a chance, knowing Josh Gordon was facing the suspension for his second failed drug test. But I thought Cleveland was a pretty good fit for him because he can start very quickly.
Joel, great stuff. We'd love to have you back on. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Be well, Dan.
Joel Klatt, Fox Sports 1 football analyst.